Hello, everyone. Books with Banks back again. And once again, I'm so happy to be joined by my good friend Jared from the Fantasy Thinker. How are you today?
I'm great, Alex. Thanks so much for having me on. It is so fun to go back and talk about the series that I love so much.
Thanks. Yeah. And as you just alluded to there, we're back to talk about the next book in Chronicles of Thomas Covenant, the original trilogy. My edition here is the this one. All these covers kind of look the same. It's the Illearth War is book two, but there's some beautiful fantasy artwork like that for a lot of the other editions and collections. Yeah. Um, so yeah, thanks for being here. I was really excited to talk about the first book, but I'm even more excited to talk about this one because I think I definitely preferred this over that one. Although, with any series, I wouldn't like it as much if the great foundation that was laid out in book one hadn't been there. So, yeah, I guess maybe my first question for you is, do the three books in this original trilogy, do they stand out as like distinct entries in the series to you, or does some of it blend together? Yeah.
That's a good question. I think this one, yeah, they definitely stand out because I think the Ill-Earth War is definitely like it has its own kind of contained. I mean, it's about the Ill-Earth War. I mean, so it
Yeah.
has its a contained story in that sense that it's about a single huge event that's happening. And so they are kind of they do kind of stand on their own in that sense that you can't just go in and read this book without having
Right.
knowledge of the
Right.
first one, but they do have like this solid contained theme within the contents of this being a novel. And
Mhm.
and I thought that was I think that's pretty standard for the series as a whole.
Okay. Okay.
From what I remember, I and I like that about it because when I first read these, I took a year in between,
Mhm.
and you mentioned the what came before section
Yeah. Yeah.
in your copy, and that was very helpful while I was
Yeah.
reading them yeah.
Yeah. Um, I let me just quickly reference what. Okay, yeah. So I guess with them standing out and like you said, having their own different kind of contained stories that they tackle, or that he's tackling and exploring in each of them, do any of them stand out to you as like your favorites or least favorite, or as far as your just preferences, are they all pretty much even? Yeah.
Yeah, I think this one was my favorite of the first trilogy.
Okay. Okay.
And we're talking minuscule grades of
Sure.
favoritism here,
Yeah.
but my favorite is the first book in the second trilogy.
Okay. Okay.
That is my favorite of all of them.
Okay.
And for reasons we'll hopefully get into later.
Gotcha.
But yeah, but like you said, you can't have one without the other. So it's all good.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Definitely my favorite so far. And I'd love to get into reasons why. And we've been a little vague so far. We haven't really talked about specifics. Just to avoid spoilers, if anyone watching this has clicked on the video, just so you know, right now I think we'll shift into more spoiler kind of topics because it's a little too difficult to talk about the interesting twists and turns Donaldson takes in this
Yeah.
book without definitely without spoiling book one. It's also hard just without spoiling this book itself. So yeah, spoiler warning starting now. Um, and kind of in that spoiler section or this spoiler section now, one of my first, I guess, questions or something I've noticed is each of these books sort of starts with its own kind of short story of Covenant in the real world or in his world. And so like in book one, he's going into town to like pay a bill and almost gets hit by a car, he falls down, and then he's in the land. In book two, he hitchhikes to a nightclub and he gets drunk. He thinks he hears someone calling him Barrack Half Hand, and then he goes home, gets a call from his ex-wife, and then he falls down and hits his head on the coffee table. Or he goes home, he gets kicked out of the club because
Mhm.
they find out he's a leper, or he's the leper. Um, I mentioned to you before we started recording, I have started the third book. It's got its own kind of episode or things that happen to him at the beginning of that one. I'm just curious what your thoughts are on those little opening sections, kind of, I guess, first grounding him there before we return once again to the land.
Yeah, it's I find them fascinating because it Donaldson grounds you
Mhm.
in Covenant's reality. He reminds you of Covenant's issues and problems that he's having, and the his stubborn tenacity not to be pitied and not to be, you know, looked
Right.
down on because of his leper condition. And that's pretty important to his character because he uh he brings that that vile stubbornness that he has with him when he
Yeah.
gets summoned to the land. And I just I love because if you look through those that section, there's all these little things he says that mirror what's going to happen in the rest of the book as
Mhm.
far as the this despite and these things being impossible that he can't come to terms with, and um and he can't bear some certain things like when he was reading a book
Uh-huh.
and it was open to a page where it says the dreams of men belong to God, and he just couldn't bear
Yeah.
that thought, because it mirrors too much of this unbelievable place that he's not even sure anymore that he was there because
Right.
he's back in the real world right now, so
Right.
it really there's a lot in there if you really break it down, and it would take a while to break it down, but
Yeah.
it's there for the breaking if you want to if you want to on the task.
Right, right, right. Yeah. So like yeah, so then because it's Portal Fantasy, or it's a kind of Portal Fantasy, I guess. And this book is a just structurally, and I'm excited to talk about the structure later because I just love how there's stories within stories kind of in this one. But with the portal aspect, when he comes back into the land, 40 years have gone by, even though it's only been a few months, in the real world. And a lot of other fantasy series do this sort of thing, like Narnia is a kind of
No,
classic
yeah.
example. Um, I'm curious your thoughts on that passage of time or that different passage of time, and I guess why you think Donaldson may have chosen to go that route.
Yeah, I don't know why he did, but I love that he did
Yeah.
because at the time when these came out, this was like 77 or something like
Mhm.
that. You had stuff like the Shannara books being really popular, and of course Lord of the Rings was more popular than ever during those years.
You froze up on my end. I don't know if did I might have frozen your end. Hmm. Hello.
Oh,
Sorry.
are we good now?
Yeah, yeah. I think my internet cut out and then went back. Sorry.
Uh,
Um,
uh, I don't know where I left off there.
the last thing, like before it cut out, you were saying back then, in the 77 or so, compared to Terry Brooks' sort of Shannara, but
All
then
right.
kind of
Okay.
that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. So in those, high fantasy, epic fantasy type of stories, time went by, but it was kind of it wasn't it was kind of you know, ephemeral type
Mhm.
passage of time. Like mu not much changed as far as how the world looked and what was going on. And then when Covenant comes back to this place 40 years later, there's all these big changes. There's like all these new lords, and there's all this history that had to be explained to him that happened while he was not
Right.
there. And I really just liked how he presented that. It gave me as a reader a real sense that the world was like the land was was really happening in contrast to what Covenant thinks.
Right, right.
That
Yeah.
things were progressing,
Uh,
and it wasn't the same idyllic kind of uh, you know fantasy land where things uh, things kind of just they're static, even though they had their own like little history. They're kind of static in how the fantasy land feels and stuff like that.
right.
And I thought this just felt different to be in this time now,
Yeah.
and I thought that was pretty cool. That's what I got out of it.
Yeah, I was surprised, I guess, but I don't know if that's even the right word because I really don't think I had any expectations going into this book. I was just along for the ride. But then seeing, oh shoot, 40 years have gone by. And in book one, Lord Val said something along the lines of in 40 and 9 years or whatever, I'll wreak my desolation or something like that. And so it's like, oh, so we're really we're getting close to that. And so I
Yeah.
think that's kind of part of it too, is the urgency that it adds to the story. That oh wow, so we come right back and a war is about to happen. But yeah, I like what you said about how it makes the world feel more real. Like this feels more like world building than just a glossary of terms at the back of
Mm.
like other fantasy books. I mean, this has a glossary of terms, but like, it's not just like um, yeah, it's not working out a system of how the world works. It's like making it an actual place that people have lived in for 40 years. So yeah, I really love that too. And also kind of seeing, we talked about with Lord Fowl's Bane, how we start to see Covenant's impact, positive and negative, on the land. And so giving 40 years shows, I mean, in some very explicit ways, like his impact
Hmm.
on the land, more clearly, I think, than if he just came back like a month after he left. Um,
Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely. I mean, the biggest thing, of course, is Alina.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
The new
a
Lord,
new High Lord,
High
yeah,
Lord. Yeah.
and her story. Of course,
Right.
we the horses visiting.
Yeah.
And I remember in our last discussion, you mentioned you actually wondered about what effect that was going to have
Right. Right. Yeah.
when he told the Rhinian um,
Yeah.
to go there every spring or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And so now we're seeing that effect in how Alina was raised and how she became to prominence among the lords and stuff like that. It
Yeah.
had ramifications.
Yeah. Oh yeah. 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 So Alina's one of, I guess, two characters, new characters in this book that I would really love to talk about. So we'll start with her, because we're kind of on that right now. I'm sure you can guess who the other character
Oh
is.
yeah.
Yeah. Um, but kind of the main character of the book, which is strange, but yeah. But with Alina, I. I guess I loved how uncomfortable Donaldson made me feel about every one of her interactions with Covenant. Um, and
Yeah.
this, like, we find out early that she's Lena's daughter. but then he kind of, I mean, I imagine most people reading this book have that thought then in the back of their mind. Okay, so who's her father? And then Donaldson kind of pulls, like stretches that tension, and they don't actually have that conversation about him being her father until much later in the book. Um, and I think that just that tension just made their dynamic and relationship so. I don't know. It's unlike anything I've ever read in fantasy. I don't know. Just your thoughts on that dynamic?
Yeah, I think you said the word. It was uncomfortable because, we know her lineage. Like you said, you find out pretty early on as a reader. Um, and I think it's just like anything else that Covenant um tries to deal with in his world. He doesn't want to deal with it. He
Right,
he he doesn't even he's still not a believer. He's still the unbeliever. And he has a great dissonance about what this really means that she's his daughter and stuff like that. And
right, right.
and that dissonance is felt in the prose, and you feel it as a reader, and it makes you uncomfortable.
Yeah,
And because he wants to be railed at, he wants to be accused, he wants to be, he wants to pay for his crime. But of course, once again, he's put on this pedestal because he's the white gold,
yeah,
wielder, and she's putting him on this pedestal as well. And as a reader, we're all like, oh, "Why are you doing that? That
yeah.
you know, don't you want to get answers out of him, get
Right, right,
have some sort of justice of some sort,
right,
not
right,
necessarily revenge, because I don't think they're geared towards a revenge type thing, but
right. With the oath of
and
peace and everything.
he
Yeah,
is her father, but don't you want at least an explanation, at least some justice? And he wants to be able to rail against people accusing him of doing bad in this
right,
place and
right.
stuff like that, but they don't.
Yeah,
And it really it sets you on edge as you're reading it. And once you accept that as part of the experience of reading this story, it's really fascinating because it really speaks volumes to the reader, I
and then, like, I mean, like you talked about her putting him on a pedestal and like as the white gold wielder, a little bit as her father too, but she also has a sort of a romantic interest in him as well. And she tries to kiss him a couple times, and he turns her away at the end. Um, and I don't know how romantic her feelings what would have taken her if like if he had been like, oh yeah, sure, yeah, let's kiss, let's do whatever you want. Um, but I mean, I guess I read that stuff as sort of Donaldson pulling on another one of those kind of like taboo threads. Like
think.
obviously, rape in any society is a taboo, but also incest is a taboo, and I don't know. I'm curious. Your thoughts about the kissing and how she's in seems to be
Yeah,
interested in him that way as well.
seems to be. I'm not sure. I don't because I don't remember exactly how it went down. It was a while ago, but I'm not sure how much of that wasn't just you know, uh, they say like a daughter hates her father when she first
Right,
goes
right,
on dates and looking for mates and stuff like that. And
right,
I'm not
right,
sure how much of that is that kind of because she doesn't know him. It's not like she
right,
grew up
right.
with a father and
They're about the same
um
age. Like, yeah, yeah,
well, yeah, right, yeah. And so there's a lot to consider psychologically there
yeah,
about
yeah.
um how that would be. And so I took it as that kind of um adoration
Okay, yeah,
aspect of it, you know. from what I remember. Maybe if I read it closer, it'd be even more disturbing or not. I don't know. I don't remember, but that's how I took it at the time, And Covenant being who he is, of course,
Right.
would deny her. And I don't I get the feeling that it wouldn't have gone further regardless, either
Right.
way. Um, I could be wrong about that, but that's how I felt in the moment when I was reading these books. Yeah.
Okay. I have a question about stuff that might get into like stuff that I don't maybe want spoiled for future books. But she practices this lost art of making sculptures out of bones, and she makes like a bust or something like the head resembling Covenant is what it seems like is her intention. And he looks at it and he sees Banner, or he says it looks like Banner.
Hmm.
Um, and that's left pretty ambiguous at the
Hmm.
end of book two. And I, again, having barely started book three, Moram knows something about that disconnect or that confusion. And that's all I know. But yeah, I'm curious, is that a big deal? Is that important? Or
Oh, that's a good question because I don't know. I'm not sure. That sounds familiar.
okay, okay,
It sounds very familiar, but I don't know where to place it later on.
okay,
I
okay.
really don't. Yeah. But now that you bring it up, I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. That did happen, and it sounds familiar that it will eventually come up again.
Okay,
But
okay,
I can't place it.
okay, okay.
Yeah,
Um,
that's interesting. I totally forgot about that. But there's so much to unpack.
yeah.
It
And,
it
and then
you
it leaves me wondering, like, is she as powerful as she is because she, like, part of her lineage is, like, or her lineage is from two different worlds? Like, is that part of why she rose to be High Lord so quickly? I wonder.
I think you can um kind of infer that
Hmm.
because not only did she have the lineage of two worlds, the but she also had the infusion and intention of powers on this world
Right.
her whole life.
Right, right,
Um, she's had the attention of the Ranians, she's had the attention of the Lords, and and who her parents were, um, who were not her. Her mother wasn't just um, some just some villager that
right, right,
had nothing. Her mother was a skilled person,
right.
and she definitely had the lineage for this type of stuff, and obviously she took to it, she pursued it as well.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, so I think you could infer that. Donaldson leaves it up in the air, I think, for
Yeah.
us to decide that part of it, but it's definitely it definitely fits with the story.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
And then how did you feel about kind of getting to the end of that part of the story? How did you feel about I guess everything with Covenant forcing the um, power of command name or whatever out of Banner, and then Elena using that to summon I guess the spirit of Kevin. Um, and if I read it right, is that the moment that like what is it, the law of death is broken or because she does that? Um, yeah, and the kind of this really epic but tragic conclusion to her
Yeah.
story here. How did you feel about that?
Yeah. From what I understand, um, this is Elena doing all the things Covenant refuses to do.
Okay. Yeah.
She is grasping at that power.
Yeah.
That Covenant has, Covenant has the power of the ring. He refuses to use it. He doesn't want anything to do with it. He doesn't even want to acknowledge its existence.
Yeah.
And she is, um, as an extension of his initial wrong in the land,
Right.
she is doing the opposite of what he is doing. She's looking for the power. She has the staff of law. She has, and she worked toward getting that as a lord. And then she's looking for the seventh ward. So she's constantly seeking power
Yeah.
and constantly seeking ways to defeat the despiser, who Covenant the whole time is saying, you
Right.
can't,
Right.
you can't defeat despite. I live with it every day. I know what it is. You can't defeat it. That's Covenant's take. And um, so but that becomes, of course, her hubris, her downfall, because she does just the unthinkable thing about breaking about the law of death,
Yeah.
um, and of course, it backfires on her,
Yeah.
despite will not be taken down by some old fable coming back
Right.
to life, and
Right. Right.
which I think was awesome.
Yeah.
I love that whole part of it. But and then so I just that's the contrast in their character, and that's also Covenant's more of Covenant's torment, because he has to watch impotently as all this is taking place.
Yeah.
And it's just thematically, I think it's just beautiful. I think it's heart wrenching, and it's not it's uncomfortable.
Right.
It's beautiful.
Right. I think the term covenant uses, at least in his inner monologue, all the time at the end of this book is this bargain that he's made. He keeps calling it a bargain that he's helping her do what the land wants him to do so that he can then go back home. Or like because if everything that they want him to do is accomplished, then he gets to leave. I guess is what he's thinking. And yeah, just that it works out and or that it doesn't work out, that it she fails and she falls and it's again on his fault because of this like bargain that he's made with himself sort of or with himself in the land. Uh I don't know. Yeah, just trying to entangle how he's rationalizing what he's doing is a I think it's a fun puzzle and kind of a fun part of the series in and of itself. But yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. It certainly is. And just like in his real life, nothing really goes his way.
Right, right. Yeah. Okay, so I think unless you have anything else you want to say about Elena, let's move over to talk about one of the other, I guess, the major addition to this book, this character, Hyle Troy,
Yeah.
another man summoned from our world into the land. Yeah, just what are your general thoughts on Hyle Troy?
I gotta tell you, when I read this book the first time,
Uh-huh.
I was totally thrown off guard by the introduction of Hyle Troy,
Uh-huh.
because like the first book was so Covenant focused. Like you couldn't get out of this guy's head if you wanted to.
Right.
And sometimes you did want to,
Yeah.
just because of how much of a jerk he was, right? But then you get into this book and it starts off with Covenant. So you're like, okay, we're back here,
Uh-huh.
getting used to this again. And then all of a sudden we get introduced to another character from Covenant's world. And it really was jarring the
Yeah.
first time I read it. And the and it took me a while to get used to that. Then in because this book's broken up into three
Yeah.
smaller books.
Yeah.
And the second book's all him.
Oh yeah. And
and
it's
it's
the
from
longest
his
chunk of
yeah,
the book.
and it's from his point of view,
Yeah.
which was like, wait a minute, this is the Chronicles of Thomas Covenant.
Right.
It's not the story of Hyle Troy. Um, and and I was, it took me a while to get around that conundrum, to really get used to it. But after a while, going back and reading it the second time, I was like, okay, this is starting to make more sense because even though it's even though it's his point of view, it's still somebody from our world
Yeah.
who is summoned there. And when you find out that he was summoned because somebody else was trying to summon Covenant
Uh-huh.
and failed,
Yeah.
and you find out that the person summoning him died in the
Yeah.
act of summoning, what does that mean for this character to be there? Because it's supposed to be when somebody dies, you know, that's it. Your summoning's over. You go back,
Right, right. Right,
you
yeah.
know? And so that sets up this weird situation, within the bounds of the novel itself, um and it makes that fascinating to read Hyle Troy's perspective. And because he's such the opposite,
Yeah.
right? He
Uh-huh.
is
Oh
he
yeah.
is the he is a foil to Covenant's character in the sense that he loves this, wants to be here.
Do anything for it, yeah.
Yeah, do anything for it. And he wants he his the fact that he because his summoner died in the summoning of him, you already get this sense that he will never leave.
Right, right,
How is he going to go back?
right.
Right. So he has a sense of permanence
Yeah.
about this place. And that really hammers home his plight, his it makes his perspective introduced meaningful,
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, I loved his addition to the book. I mean just the first time that like Covenant's in the he's been summoned and he's looking around the room and he sees someone wearing sunglasses.
Yeah.
And it's like, wait a second, what like what am I reading? Is this a page from a different book? Because I think what's weird about it or what's jarring at first about it is that even though Covenant's from a different world that's much more like ours. Um, maybe the fact that he has leprosy, maybe I don't know, maybe the fact that we've been with him living in the land for a while now, he doesn't feel as out of place anymore. I mean, obviously he's extremely out of place and he hates that he's there and he doesn't believe it. But Hyle Troy almost seems like a much more modern person that you would meet just like any day on the street than Covenant. Uh, and so I think that's what makes it a little stranger as well. And then of course he also has a disability. I think disability studies scholars could do wonderful things with this series if they wanted to. But Hyle Troy is blind, but the land gives him the ability to, or at least the sun in the land gives him the ability to see kind of to
Yeah.
see a version of how beautiful it is. Which and you and I talked about how in the first book, Covenant's self-hatred and just kind of nasty attitude kind of makes all readers want to focus on the beauty of the land. And so we were sort of filling the role of Hyle Troy in the first one, but now there's an actual like character like saying all the things and talking to Covenant the way we wish we could talk to him. Um, yeah, so no, I thought it was brilliant. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great point about we were Hyle Troy because I think his introduction also allows us to actually ride along with a character
Yeah,
and
yeah,
see the beauty with them instead of seeing the beauty against them like we
yeah,
do with Covenant. And I think that's an actual very almost a needful break in the narrative in order to just go, look what he's seeing. And he's seeing it in a special way because he was actually born without sight.
right.
It wasn't like he went blind later on in life like a lot of people do, but he was actually born without it. So he never had any kind of frame of reference at all. And so he's seeing it with a special and because of hurt loam, similar to Covenant losing
Right,
his
right.
leprosy because of the hurt loam healing properties. And um, so it really makes it really makes the land even more special in my eyes as far as what this character is now showing us, and he's showing us through love, and it's something that he desperately doesn't want to lose.
Hmm.
Whereas Covenant is desperately seeking to keep his disability
Right.
because it grounds him in his own survival.
Yeah.
Troy doesn't want that. He's not interested in his own survival. He's only interested in this beauty surviving and keeping what he's found. And so that the contrast is just, I think, wonderful.
Yeah.
And they actually argue about it
Yeah.
in the
Yeah.
narrative, which is great. I love their arguments with each other. It's
Yeah.
awesome.
I also think, or I'm sure it's important, kind of the distinction between Covenant was never necessarily in a certain death situation when he was summoned from his world into the land. I mean, maybe, but the I guess scenario that Heil Troy was summoned out of, it was something like his house was burning down and he was climbing out the window, but there was like it was like a really far drop, so he might have died if he returned.
Oh,
I don't really know, and who knows, maybe this stuff is yet to come and be answered in other books, because where I'm at with him, he's just been turned into a tree, and to study with the Carol Wildwood or something like
wow. Yeah.
that.
Carrie Wildwood. Yeah.
Yeah. Um,
Well, that's an important line
okay.
at the end of the book when Wildwood claims him. He said, "Your life is mine."
Uh-huh.
I think that's an important distinction that I forgot about his circumstances on Earth.
Yeah.
You just reminded me. I think he was going to die
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
because Wildwood claimed his life as his, which means his life is over as he knows it. And
Right.
I think because he can't go back to Earth, I think the conditions of his summoning echo what he was going to happen to him on Earth.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah.
So he's going to die. That's why he'll never leave the land
Yeah.
because leaving the land means death in the real world,
Right. Right.
and so that the ending of this book kind of wraps that up really nice
Yeah.
because he's forever there because he can never go back. And that's an awesome like thematic
Yeah.
his whole story.
Yeah. I agree. And I also like, I mean, I like that it's, battle action heavy. A lot of, okay, we have to go to this place, defend this pass. Okay, now we kind of failed here. So, okay, so now let's back retreat and go to this other place. Okay, maybe we're gonna fail there. So let's keep going back. And like I don't know. There's also, it's not funny exactly, but he has such a confidence in his abilities and how things are gonna work out, and just his strategic mind. But then, okay, so the army is, or no, we only got warning about Lord Fowl like a few days late, so that already sets us back a little bit. And
Mm, yeah.
then Okay, so we're gonna try to get to the Doom's Retreat in time, um, but maybe we won't be able to. But we have to go get these what are those rods that are kind of like radios or like the communication rods. Um, but that and then he tries to get Moram to c communicate with. Um, I think with Elena with one of the rods, but Moram's like, oh no, that's not how we divvied those up. We sent the rods to different places, and so that's another like wrench in Troy's plans, and
Hmm.
it's sort of like there's setback after setback. I wonder if maybe that's just to show like how, despite all of these setbacks, he's still so um committed to like helping these people and to like fighting for the land. I don't know. What did you think about the all the problems that his plan
Yeah,
runs into?
that's interesting. I don't really remember all the issues that he ran into. I do remember. Um, I think it's amazing that Donaldson can write such gripping action scenes
Yeah,
amongst all this other
right,
kind of flowery prose in
right.
between, and he blends it so seamlessly. Um, and I just I think now that you say that, um, because it shows because we were given some background that he had, strategic military
Right, right.
training and stuff like that, and I think that's pretty cool that you brought up all these obstacles and stuff like that because I think it leads us to him searching for new answers and searching
Hmm.
for ways to overcome new obstacles constantly. Just like in any battle, any general is going to have
Right.
to adjust their tactics based upon the circumstances in the in the field, and he's doing that, and I think it's challenging him constantly to rethink, reevaluate, and come at problems in a new way, which ultimately leads to his ultimate sacrifice
Right,
in
right.
making that deal with Wildwood. Um, which have you ever had a more scary villain than these Ravers?
Yeah, no, I love them. I mean, they're terrifying, and
That
um
absolutely terrifying.
I think the one that is leading the army, I forget their different names and stuff, but the one that's in the giant's body that's leading the army after Troy, he's terrifying. But the I guess the section or the storyline in this book that was probably the most unsettling and frightening for me was the Chorix quest that goes east to find out what happened to the giants.
Yeah.
And just like, I mean, I love the way Donaldson tells that story because so not only are we one step removed from Covenant, where when we're in this middle section with Heil Troy, but then you have I guess one episode where, or one chapter where someone returns from Korik's quest to relay all of the troubles they've had in this horrifying marshland, swampland that they've been trying to navigate through. And then get back to Troy's story for a little bit, and then another couple people come back to reveal how that quest turned out. So it's like story within a story within
Hmm.
a story kind of, and um, but yeah, just what the Lord that's with them at that point, and that quest group, what they find of the giants and all the killed giants and the Raver having taken over the body of a giant. Like, oh, it's just so, oh,
It's
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 awful. Like, it's,
it is. Yeah. No, I agree. It's one of those things that stuck with me throughout all this time. It's just how horrible that situation was with the Giants. And like you're always like, they they didn't want to fight against this.
right,
They
right.
there was some sort of uh malaise over them against going against this in Kinslaughter, I think is one of the Ravers' names, and that's he's the one that
Yeah, yeah,
perpetuated this genocide on the Giants. And and I think Flesh Harrower was the one that was leading the army.
yeah. Flesh Arrow, right.
Yeah, and the yeah, it that that whole story. Um, it's interesting that it was told from the perspective of somebody who was, I think they were coming back from that expedition. They were
Yeah, yeah.
basically they went to find out, and at least that like that down getting told a tale from different,
Uh-huh.
not actually being there. I think
Right.
the actually being there would be even more devastating
Uh-huh.
to the reader. You're hearing it, but yeah, I'm not sure how much more you could get devastated by that tale.
Yeah.
It just it really, and it made me wonder about Salt, the hot phone follower. Um,
Oh yeah, me too. Because he's done in this book, and I was like, oh no,
yeah,
they like,
and yeah, so you're like, oh no, like what happened with him? Like,
yeah.
because I don't know, I don't remember um what happened, and I'm trying to think of it. And I really don't know, and
Uh,
I'm
I know
sure.
a bit more having started book three. Like there, I have a little more awareness of like where he was at that time or things.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And I know there's more stuff even in the second trilogy there's more stuff.
Okay.
Uh so you'll find out I think about giants. But there is a song in here about unhomed.
Mhm.
And that's actually important for later stuff as well.
Okay.
And so you get these ravers and you see how horrific they are. Um and you think back to the first book, and somebody refers to Covenant as a
As a raver.
raver,
Yeah, yeah.
right?
Uh-huh.
And that really hits home when
Yeah.
you see what ravers actually are.
Hmm.
And I think it was
Uh,
Lena's
Triok or
Triok, yes. It was him who called Covenant a raver. And at the time, you're like, okay, well, that's a quirky name for somebody who's mad at Covenant for what he did.
yeah,
Um, I think it's just their term for rape or what have you, but it's not. It's deeper than that. It's
yeah,
more insinuating than that, and it's really really bad.
yeah. I also what I like about that quest is that it's the Lord Hiram, I think is his name, who goes there, or like he's one of the two lords that's like leading the quest, and he's when we when he introduces himself to Covenant, he's kind of like a ball of joy and like he's funny and charming and
Hmm.
he seems like one of the most charismatic, I guess, of the lords. And so to have him go and give his life taking down the one raver, but then of course it's just killing the body that that raver
Yeah.
is inhabiting at that time. Um, because they're not like permanently gone. But yeah, just that it was one of my like when I started this book, I told my wife, I said, I like the first one, but already we've met these two characters, this guy Hyle Troy and this guy Hiram, who are both really fascinating, and I'm just like they're a big reason why I burned through this one as quickly as I did.
Mm.
But yeah, that was early on, and so then seeing what happens to Hiram is, yeah, at the and what he and his cohort discover at that city at the Giants' home, it's devastating. Yeah, but it's
Yeah.
I mean it's so like it's so much fun to read. Like it's so the pace is excellent and yeah,
Yeah,
it's so gripping. Yeah.
it really is. Yeah. That was something I noticed on my reread of this series was because it was it was a good 15, 20 years later. And I had read a lot since then, and I noticed that his pacing is just fantastic. Like
Yeah. Oh,
I don't know what it is, but I just feel this. I'm just so in tune with the story while he's telling it, and it just really, it's. I really love how he constructs his narrative and his prose and how he gives it to us and puts it all together.
yeah. I mean, yeah, when we're done with this chat, I'm just gonna jump right from this back into reading book three. So
Awesome. Yeah.
let
Cool.
me check my notes just to see. Um, I don't know that I had too many other specific questions to ask. Are there moments from the book that you r really wanted to address or that you really wanted to talk about? Or anything that you were curious my reaction to?
Um, the let's see here. Oh, I'm gonna remember if does it explain in the beginning somewhere where the Illearth stone comes from?
I don't know that I know that. I mean, that it might have been explained, but if they did,
Yeah,
I forgot it.
yeah, I couldn't remember, and I was trying to look it up real quick, but I couldn't find it fast enough.
and I know
Uh,
the Ravers, do they all have a piece of the Eller Stone or something like that? Or
I'm not sure about that. I think I know the one Flesh Harrower
has it? Or yeah.
has it, and um, when I love that whole passage of Troy making the bargain, says I'm going to give you a raver.
Right, right,
Um,
yeah, yeah,
I thought that was
yeah.
pretty intense, and
Yeah,
when
that
it
whole
does,
scene as the army's approaching and they're right there on the edge of the forest, that's
oh
so
yeah,
so good. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, it's and when it does happen, um, the Forrestal says he destroyed the Yellowstone.
Uh-huh. Oh, okay, yeah.
Um, so as he said, this is a foul thing, and I destroyed it because the lords were asking, hey, what happened with it? What'd you do with it? He's like,
Mhm.
destroyed it. And so, um, but it's one of those because we get introduced to a lot of artifacts during the course of these
Yeah,
books.
yeah.
Um, the staff of law being one, but there's also been a few others. You mentioned the rods, and you
Right,
mentioned,
right.
um, and there's also been oh, something about a golden stone or something like that. Um,
Maybe.
it lights
Um,
away. Yeah, I forget how it works, but
oh, and there's also the krill, like the sword.
Krill.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
that
Okay, yeah,
sword. Yeah,
yeah,
that's right. Yep.
yeah.
So, and these things seem to be, you know, just part and parcel of the land. Like these artifacts get created either by lords or by maybe by Lord Fowl himself,
Hmm.
as he attempts to use certain things to focus his power, or they are trying to focus their power, like they do in the Staff of the Law. Um, and I found it interesting that Alina, um, Covenant asked her because she and two of the Blood God and Covenant went off on their own quest
Yeah.
while the whole war is going on, and he's like asking her, "Why did you want me on this quest?" And one of the things she said was, "I had the Staff of Law. If for some reason, if you go against the land, I at least have something of power to thwart, you
Right.
know."
Right.
So she had this extreme sense of that these things, these artifacts are powerful. She felt that she could at least try to do something to thwart him if he went against the land.
Yeah.
And I found that very interesting. The and this concept of artifacts, it's almost like it's almost like power in the real world when nations have certain technologies and stuff like that,
Right, right.
and you have people trying to get them and people trying to use them in different ways in certain ways, and it makes sense that this kind of place would have their own version of that
Yeah,
in
yeah.
in this land. But I didn't remember if Fowl created the Yellowstone or if it came from somewhere else or not, but I think
Yeah,
he created it.
I'm struggling to remember that.
Yeah, I'll have to look
Yeah.
that up.
Yeah.
But it was just cool how even though she adored him in one way, she still was wary,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know. Uh, she wasn't completely foolish about that part of it.
Right, right. He still had done this horrible thing to
Yeah,
her mom. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
And I mean, I know Covenant blames himself for ha what happened to Atiarin, because she's who was trying to summon him when she
Hmm.
summoned Heil Troy. Um, I don't know that Elena might go as far as to blame him for that, but he certainly thinks it's all his
Sure.
doing. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, absolutely. He
I
needs he needs to take
yeah.
that blame, you know.
I also kind of like the again, it's something that it's like almost funny that he says to himself, Covenant, this time I'm not gonna shave because if I wake up in my world, in the real world, and I have a beard, then I'll know the land is real. But if I don't have a beard, then I'll know it's fake. And he's kind of doing this test. But then like it gets to a point close to the end where he goes ahead and shaves anyway, and then um he or someone smacks him on the head with something. So this in the same place that he hit his
Yeah,
head on the coffee table in the real world. So it's still, at least for him, it's still up in the air as to
yeah,
what's real or not. Um
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. It's a very poignant part when he looks in the mirror in the bathroom at the end,
Yeah.
and he doesn't clean himself up. He
Yeah.
keep
Yeah.
keeps the wound uncleaned,
Yeah.
and he did not choose to repudiate the accusation.
Yeah.
And so he so he once again he has that self hate. That's what that is, and that's what that represents.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, just wonderful, wonderful series, wonderful, wonderful good
Um,
book, and I would like to bring to your attention the this short story collection,
okay.
The Daughter of Regals and Other Tales,
Okay.
because there is a story in here that you can read after reading the Illearth
Oh,
War.
okay. Oh, great. Okay.
And the reason why it wasn't included in this book, because, well, it would have added another um, 50 pages onto it,
Okay.
uh, but it's also because it was from a blood god's point of view. They
Oh,
didn't want
okay.
he didn't want to he wasn't ready to put that into
Gotcha.
the book.
Gotcha.
Hyle Troy was enough at this point
Yeah, sure.
have a to have a different point of view, and so it's called Gildenfire, but
Okay.
it relates part of the experience of the blood gods who went to see
Oh, okay.
uh, that quest.
Okay.
It relates more of that quest and fills in more of that. Um,
That sounds
and
awesome.
so
Yeah.
it's it, it's pretty cool.
Yeah,
And
I had no
and
idea.
and
Yeah.
yeah, Donaldson gives his reasons in the beginning of this, in the introduction, about
Okay.
why he took it out, why it had to be cut, and all that stuff, and how much it hurt him to cut it. But
Is it a
uh,
particularly grim story? Like, is it?
I don't I don't remember.
Okay.
I mean, I would think so, just
Right,
based
right,
upon the quest and what we know about it so far,
right,
but
right.
I do want to reread it at some point.
Um,
But it is just a little fascinating side piece
yeah, yeah,
that
yeah.
he came up
There
with.
is a bit more just grim, kind of grotesque stuff in this book than there was in the first one, I think. Um, just with like everything with the giants. And
Yeah.
when they describe like the battle scenes are not uh he doesn't maintain like a distant third eye or like bird's eye view sort of thing. Like you see some pretty gruesome like some violence, and then just like the what is it like the acid blood of a creature burning Heil Troy's face, so that
Oh yeah,
that
that's right.
messes up his vision even more. But I mean, maybe that's just yet another one of those setbacks that's like. No, he's still, even despite that, even though this messed up the beautiful vision and like what he can see of the land, he's still willing to make this sacrifice and make a sacrifice. It it's such a strange book because yeah, like you said, it's the Chronicles of Thomas Covenant, and so much of this one, Covenant's not on the page, or not literally on the page. I mean, they're talking about him all the time because Troy and his group and more, they visit the Mythal Stone Down, and so we see Triarch again, which is really cool. I like how Donaldson
Oh yeah.
keeps all kind of the name characters. He keeps them on in a pretty, I don't know, he keeps them around. I like that, and of course they talk about Covenant, but yeah, just that. I don't know. I don't know that I've ever read a sequel that is so. I don't, maybe bold is the word, or like it's just so like takes such jarring swings away from the format of the first one. But I loved it for that. Yeah.
Yeah, it does seem like he took. I mean, Howard Troy does spend a lot of time either talking to Covenant or talking about Covenant.
Right. Right. Yeah.
So he's definitely not absent for too long. But
No, he hates it.
yeah, and but it was a yeah, I think you're right. It was a really bold choice on Donaldson's part to present it the way.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great.
Well, I don't think I have too much more to add onto this book. Who knows? Or I can imagine if you're available for a third conversation about Power That Preserves. Awesome. I can imagine that chat might go a little bit longer because, more of my questions will be answered, more of,
Mm.
um, yeah, yeah, things like that. And so far I'm liking book three at least as much as this one. So yeah, we'll see where that goes. But yeah, thank you so much for joining me. Anything else you'd like to add before we sign off?
No, just thank you for having me. This was fun, and yeah, I'll be looking forward to the next one.
All
And
right.
reminding myself again about more stuff.
Okay, well, thanks so much, Jared. Thank you everyone for watching. If you're familiar with the series, please like and subscribe. Comment down below what your thoughts are on these books. Thanks. Have a good one. Bye.